Hi, I'm Miranda Lewis. Thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to come up with a strategy for product opportunities for ABC Biopharma's monoclonal antibody for two select skin diseases. We hope to convince you that we're itching for a cure. We invite you to meet the team. We're the Solution Squad, comprised of 5 PhD candidates with diverse backgrounds that are set on providing an optimized recommendation that suits the need of the client. Now I'd like to pass it off to Shafakat.
Thanks, Miranda. Our client, ABC Biopharma, has demonstrated favorable safety and efficacy for their novel antibody to treat atopic dermatitis or plaque psoriasis, with minimal adverse effects observed at the level of phase 1 trials. Now our client wants to explore which of these indications has the largest commercial opportunity for ABC001. To address our client's goals, we've provided the following recommendation. We believe ABC Biopharma should pursue the atopic dermatitis space, where we observe a high U.S. disease burden and a strong opportunity for clinical impact. We believe ABC Biopharma can target patient segments with a high unmet need and have observed limited competition in the treatment of moderate to severe symptoms with a significant market potential for pediatric patients. Finally, to pursue this opportunity, we think it is important for ABC Biopharma to establish partnerships with academic research institutions that can readily reach unmet patient demographics to close barriers to treatment due to social determinants of health. Now I'd like to dive into our market analysis. There is significant market opportunity to disrupt the standard of care for skin indications with biologics like our client's therapeutic monoclonal antibody. The North American market for antibody therapy is growing steady since early estimates from 2017. Within this market, a growing sector for therapy is in skin indications, with a compound annual growth rate approximated to being 9% to the year 2027. In North America and globally, there is significant R&D investment being conducted to develop novel therapeutics, and this observation is a main driver for market growth and the treatment of skin indications. Next slide.
To evaluate the risks and opportunities in atopic dermatitis and plaque psoriasis markets, we began with a hypothesis that the indication worth pursuing development in would be characterized by a greater indication burden, less competition, and a higher growth potential. So first, Robert will discuss indication burden.
Thanks, Kevin. So let's dive into our analysis for this market opportunity for ABC001. I first want to direct your attention to this graph on the left that's examining the national healthcare burden for these two conditions. As you can see, plaque psoriasis contributes to a larger healthcare burden compared to atopic dermatitis. This is important to consider when evaluating the market potential for the drug. However, when we look at the graph on the right and we see the number of Americans affected by each condition, the story is different. This graph shows that atopic dermatitis affects many more Americans than plaque psoriasis. And as some of you may know, children only get atopic dermatitis, so this represents a significant patient population for ABC001. So while healthcare burden may be larger for plaque psoriasis, the patient population is larger for atopic dermatitis, making it an important market for the drug. Now you can see here that we've examined the burden for each disease. We want to take a closer look at the market sizes for both indications. And as you can see from the graph, the current market size for atopic dermatitis is more than triple the size of plaque psoriasis. And what's even more interesting is that the projected growth rate for atopic dermatitis is set to outpace the growth rate for plaque psoriasis in the coming years. This indicates a significant opportunity for ABC Biopharma to capture a larger share of the atopic dermatitis market and potentially become a major player in this space. The data suggests that focusing on developing ABC001 for atopic dermatitis could result in higher revenue and growth potential for the company. However, we still need to carefully evaluate the market landscape and competitive landscape to determine the best path forward. Now I'm going to pass it off back to Kevin.
Thank you, Robert. To evaluate any unmet needs in either market, we first looked at data from the Treatment Satisfaction Questionnaire for Medication. We found that atopic dermatitis patients are generally less satisfied with their treatment options as compared to plaque psoriasis patients. And this greater dissatisfaction in the atopic dermatitis market highlights a systemic unmet need in the space. Additionally, fewer drugs are being investigated seeking indications in atopic dermatitis across all levels of clinical trials, suggesting that fewer drugs will have the opportunity to satisfy the patient satisfaction unmet need and a higher chance for ABC001 to provide high quality care to atopic dermatitis patients. Next slide. To analyze the barriers for entry into each market, we reviewed multiple factors that could create risks. Plaque psoriasis was found to have higher levels of competition with major players holding a large market share and market saturation, with more biologics available to patients, suggesting that entering the plaque psoriasis space would be riskier. However, this analysis highlights that atopic dermatitis would be an easier market to enter and would allow for greater expansion with respect to the current market factors. And next, Gary will discuss specific segments of the indication's therapeutic market share.
Thanks, Devin. So if we look specifically at the drugs that are available for treating both plaque psoriasis and atopic dermatitis, we can see that over 50% of the market is already taken up by therapeutics that are designed specifically to treat moderate to severe symptoms in plaque psoriasis, while only 30% of the drugs on the market are able to treat moderate to severe cases for atopic dermatitis. More importantly, only one drug so far has been FDA approved to treat moderate to severe symptoms in atopic dermatitis in children. So this is important because about 1/3 of the children with atopic dermatitis present moderate to severe symptoms. And this population itself makes up roughly 12% of the overall affected population. And while 12% doesn't seem like a large amount, it's important to remember that roughly 83% of adults with atopic dermatitis develop symptoms before the age of 6 years old. So this means that if our client were to be able to introduce their drug ABC001 to children and have them get in the habit of taking this drug, this will carry on into the future market and capture that larger market space. So just to recap all of the information that we've shown so far, the first is that there is a much higher disease burden for atopic dermatitis, with roughly 3.5 times more people affected in the US when compared to plaque psoriasis. Also, the future revenue trends show that there is a much higher growth rate for atopic dermatitis when compared to plaque psoriasis. And because the market space for drugs right now only includes one drug that is able to treat moderate to severe symptoms in atopic dermatitis, this means that there is very limited competition when entering into that space for our client. And now I'll pass it back on to Miranda.
After analyzing the commercial opportunity for ABC001, we have to consider additional stakeholders, which are the payers into our program, the regulatory agencies who evaluate our asset, the research partners who execute our clinical trials, and our target healthcare providers and patients who prescribe and receive our treatment.
The regulatory considerations for monoclonal antibody therapy are product specific. Our client has already shown favorable efficacy and safety for skin indications at phase 1 trials, thereby providing the initial validation and promise of this therapy. The next steps will involve quality control and a long-term risk assessment, which can be addressed by conducting phase 2, 3, and phase 4 clinical trials. Phase 2 and phase 3 trials will assess ABC001 in a bigger patient pool and will optimize its usage for different patient segments, ultimately giving some insights as to how this therapeutic compares to standard treatments. After regulatory approval, we recommend our client pursue a phase 4 trial to analyze long-term efficacy, safety, and cost-effectiveness once the therapeutic enters the market, as a way to continuously assess for new symptoms, new risk, and new opportunity for ABC001. These regulatory considerations are equal whether ABC Biopharma chooses atopic dermatitis or plaque psoriasis. Next slide, please. To make sure we meet several regulatory considerations at the quality control level, we recommend our client partner with academic institutions that can readily access neglected demographics as a way to sample a heterogeneous population and help tackle social determinants of health. We are aware that minority groups are less likely to seek treatment for skin disease or know they can seek treatment. And this is primarily due to socioeconomic barriers obstructing meaningful care. By partnering with institutions that can readily enroll a diverse patient population and have a strong core in dermatology, we can help serve neglected demographics and overall drive health equity in the atopic dermatitis space. Next slide.
There are several payer considerations for the successful integration of a new biologic into healthcare, and we've covered several of these considerations in our presentation. We've established that atopic dermatitis has a higher disease burden in the US than plaque psoriasis, and that this indication has less available treatments, thus warranting a reason for payers like insurance companies to consider reimbursement for this therapy. Our client and competitors have shown real-world evidence to warrant the success of the therapy, as several monoclonal antibodies have entered the atopic dermatitis and plaque psoriasis market and are making an impact. The cost effectiveness of these therapies is also a question because the manufacturing costs for biologics is considerably high based on our research. However, we want to clarify that while the direct costs are high, the costs related to healthcare are reduced. In addition, indirect costs to care are also reduced as patients will see improved quality of life with these availability of these new treatment interventions. Next slide, please. Our client's treatment is not without risk. We've identified some risks associated with treatment between patient and provider standpoint. Under patients, some people may have difficulty with administering treatment. We suggest for the client to invest in providing instructional videos or providing nurse education. Another risk is that there may be low treatment compliance, which the client can combat by offering pre-filled syringes or pen. Additionally, some patients may have fear associated with injection, which the client can alleviate by making the injection less painful by optimizing the injection method, like reducing needle gauge, lowering fluid volume, and viscosity. The risks associated with our providers include ABC001 being prescribed less potentially. Clinicians are more likely to prescribe a first-rate treatment, which our client has shown to be efficacious. Additionally, we could increase provider awareness of ABC001 by enlisting medical science liaisons to inform clinicians about the monoclonal antibody and its. And lastly, to also consider coverage through insurance providers, which we can work with these companies to ensure coverage and providing optimal treatment for our patients. Next slide.
Thanks, Miranda. As we move forward, we have a clear plan in place for the next 10 years. The first priority is achieving FDA approval for ABC001. This can be achieved by developing collaborations with research partners and conducting phase 2 and 3 clinical trials to ensure the safety and efficacy of our drug. Once FDA approval is achieved, we will begin to see the market impact of ABC001. The plan is then to conduct phase 4 trials to assess the long-term efficacy of the drug and to compare it with other treatments on the market. Looking even further ahead, it would be great to diversify ABC Biopharma's portfolio and explore alternate routes to drug delivery, such as skin patches. We recommend to also consider entry into related indications to expand the company's reach and to continue to help patients in need. This timeline serves as a roadmap for ABC Biopharma, and we believe that they can achieve each of these goals in a timely and effective manner. Next slide, please. So to give a broad summary of everything that we have covered today, we recommend ABC Biopharma to pursue development for pediatric, moderate to severe atopic dermatitis. And we've come to this conclusion through a variety of factors where we covered disease burden, further revenue trends, market potential, and stakeholder needs. And we believe that a very reliable way that the client can do this is to first establish themselves in the atopic dermatitis market, and then they can address target patient segments that have particularly unmet and neglected needs. And finally, by partnering with different academic research institutions, they can ensure that they have developed a very effective and safe product. Thank you. Thank you from the Solutions Squad.
How are we on time?
We have 1 minute left. That was perfect.
Let's go, we're done.
Nice. We got it.
All right. Robert,
Freaking
stop
better
recording.
because we have less than 15 minutes until the deadline. So
Stop recording and cut